universe, where the billions of stars and billions of light years of space combine to form patterns of energy. Here we are, surrounded, living on our planet. And we have our own brand of stars, rock stars and celebrities. It all started back like a hurricane, sometime around the late 60s. Suddenly the rock guitar, based on the blues that electrified, was the rage. Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Johnny Winter. Some of the few names that were exploding and dynamic into the 70s. A time when personal electronics was in its infancy. No one had heard of the internet yet. They all wanted to be like their heroes, the guitar heroes, the rock stars, and yet nobody wanted to practice. The idea they actually had to work at it didn't occur to a lot of people, so they went out and bought guitars, pianos, drums. A lot of them didn't think that you had to really work at it, that it would just sort of come to you as long as you had the electricity flowing through. They hadn't really realized that the jazz cats from former eras had worked really hard and their instruments got really great and knew the music very well. They thought they would just seem to do it like they did in the old days or something. They would revolutionize music their own way, without really having to practice. Well, so much for the hippies. It turns out that in order to learn an instrument, you really gotta work at it. So today I'm going to give you some ideas on how to practice. This isn't anything like a college course on practice, but it's just to give you a few ideas about how you should approach practice and how it can benefit you. Before we start, listen to this. Don't go into it with the idea that it's going to make you a better player. Instead, realize that it makes you better like a cure or a balm would make you better. Welcome back to Gene Petty's living room, and welcome Clarinet Pete.
Yeah, Gene, thanks, and I'll get right to the point. I always liked to practice, but when I was younger, when just learning the instrument, it was tough. I had to force myself, and then it turned out I didn't even practice the right things.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Pete, and I'd like you to share something else. Can you show us how you start nowadays when you're practicing and warming up?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Gene, it's a really great thing when you practice right. It's a whole bunch of benefits that make you feel better, and in fact, it rewires your brain.
Coffee in the morning, off to work, doing full day's labor, drive home in traffic, tired, obligations at home. When do you have time to play? Feels like a downward spiral. I wanted to get better, but I can't because I don't have time to practice. And it's right at that moment when you're thinking how you can't get better because you can't practice. Well, think about practice making you better. Not a better player, just better. Now the question arises, what if I have to learn something like that? Let's say it's beyond my reach, I don't know how to play it. What should I do?
Well, Gene, I think there's only one thing you can do. Slow it down. So there you go, Gene. That's what it is all about, is getting it that slow it's not so difficult then.
Well, that's the secret to learning your part. Once you learn the notes, then we gotta speed it up in increments.
Alright, I imagine if you did that for a week, you'd be able to get to that speed.
Which brings me to the problem there, Pete. I think what happens now is that I want to get to a certain speed, and I'm gonna do it consistently every day.
Well, let's just see how fast you have to get it eventually. Well, that's fast enough for me.
So now you see the whole problem of practice is to try to get better at a certain thing and try to do it in a limited amount of time. But if you look at practice as a kind of medicine, something that helps you to heal, then you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. The idea is to focus in on the process rather than the end where you think the rewards are going to be.
Yeah, gee, that's what my practice is like now these days. It's more like a meditation.
I want to point out here a similarity, Pete, with you and your long tones. And I had this lesson from year 2011 or so where I asked the student to just pluck the string and listen. The idea was to see at what point the sound actually becomes memory. By doing this, I became reacquainted with the sound of the guitar. You couldn't do the exercise fast. So it would make me realize that there was no point in trying to get to the end of an exercise faster and in trying to accomplish more. You see, there was a point where I actually stopped liking what I was playing on guitar and had to re-educate myself to like it again. And the whole thing came about with my approach to practice. Every time I came up to the guitar, I pretended that it was the first time I was picking it up. Sort of like the Zen mind, beginner's mind.
Yeah, Gene, I always call it a new, meaningful experience.
You have to enjoy fixing your mistakes and learning to increase speed.
And if you can't get it fast enough yet, you gotta go back and slow it down.
But don't look at slowing down as a kind of punishment. You should feel glad that you've been given this chance, this opportunity to step back, slow things down, and take it easy. And might I add, without losing focus. And might I add, without losing focus. And might I add, without losing focus. Without losing focus.